wanted us to come up with like each a different topic or a couple topics, but they were all completely generated by ChatGPT. And basically, it was up to our discretion on how we would make ChatGPT make these topics. So it could be pretty simple.
Okay.
Like Sean, you had like make 10 rants for me in ChatGPT, which are topics, right? But I was like asking him like, what's a great topic for what's a great topic, podcast topic for 3 dudes who like Japan, anime, and video games? Like make a topic. And then I'd say make it weird. And then I would keep telling ChatGPT to be like, make it weird, make it even weirder, make it wild.
Make it weird.
And I would just see how it like dealt with that. So that was going to be like my angle. I was just going to try and make ChatGPT make really weird or like off the hook discussion topics.
Okay.
But then no matter what, like we would pick them, and whether they were uncomfortable, actual good conversation topics or not, we would try to like talk through it, right? So that was my idea originally.
All right. I kind of like that.
Well, what's something that yours came up with?
Yeah, so I'll share mine.
Well, you want to intro first?
Yeah, I'll intro the podcast. No, no intros for the podcast anymore. Okay, welcome to Almost a Podcast, everyone. I just clipped so hard. That's great, guys. This is our 68th episode. This is great. We're talking about ChatGPT today, like every other podcaster out there, to be completely honest. And I'm just, I'm going to go.
We kind of already talked about it for a bit, but now that we've had experience because I had just started using it at that point.
Yeah.
And I've been using it more for various things now. Not a lot, but the other day I was trying to make something. I was trying to figure out how to do something, right? At my job. And you know, you get to the point where you start Googling things. And I was trying to type into Google my problem, right?
Yeah.
What needed done. And sometimes Google just fails in that regard, right? You just can't get specific enough, or what you're trying to figure out is so specific that it's just not going to get it. And I know it's not going to get it. And then I thought, well, wait, what if I ask ChatGPT to come up with the answer? And I did, and it did it. I was like, awesome. That's what I needed to know.
Yeah.
And then I was able to, and from that was able to then Google more specific things to get where I needed, / jumpstart on the topic that I needed to
That's really
figure
cool.
out.
Yeah, I had to write some training materials recently, and I'm like, I'm feeling lazy today. I'm just going to log in. Oh, ChatGPT's up. It's not completely blocked. I'm just going to ask it to write these training materials. And guess what I did?
Why would it be blocked? Aren't you the network person?
Well, as in it's, it's at
because it has so
because
much.
This is during the day, right? You know, during the,
it's been a lot better.
it has, I think they've really scaled it. They must have scaled the servers quite a bit, but, it's been fun messing with that, and just had it write some training materials, and then reworded a couple things, but for the most part, like the structure, I was like, all right, perfect, and I see pictures associated with it, but yeah,
nice.
Don't have to worry
I mean,
about
that's
that.
I've been doing like dumb stuff. Like I showed you guys one I recently did. It was like I need to split the like visible color spectrum into 19 different like RGB values. Can you just do that for me?
I mean, that's still a useful way to do it.
I was surprised.
A useful application.
Yeah, I was super surprised. I was like, yeah, just do that. And it did it almost 100% correct. And I was like, great. This just eliminates all the guesswork I have to do to put that in there. It's great. But, okay, getting back to the topics that I was coming up with. So my general angle, right, on these topics were very Sigma male related. So I would ask.
Oh my God.
So the one I did recently that I was hoping you guys would like, I was like, give me a podcast topic. Oh wait, this tab. Give me a podcast topic for Sigma males who work in the IT industry. And it's like it gave me this whole thing where it's like, a good way to get through this is explore how the unique experiences of Sigma males working in IT, how their perspectives on leadership, collaboration, and problem solving may differ because they're a Sigma male. And then also the fast-paced evolving field like IT, how do Sigma males specifically deal with this? And
I feel like you could just put anything into that, and
Yeah.
it's really generic.
I think it was kind of generic. It was just funny you're saying it, like having it repeat Sigma male over and over. It's like
Yeah.
the common like traits of Sigma males. Yes. How do they adapt to the IT world kind of thing? So that was kind of funny. The other one I really wanted to share, and can we even talk about this? I want like the goal, as I told you guys earlier, was to try and actually talk about these topics. But this one is going to be hard because I'm just like, generate a wild conversation topic about Sigma males. And it starts with like, okay, so how are Sigma males different from alpha and the beta male categories? Like, why are they becoming so increasingly popular in society? And then I'm like, just make it more wild. And it's like, all right, let's take this conversation to the next level. Do you think Sigma males possess supernatural abilities or a hidden power that sets them apart from other males in society? Perhaps they have a secret code or language that only they understand. And it like keeps going on for multiple paragraphs on this. I ask it to take it up a notch, and it's like, all right, so Sigma males, let's just pretend that they're a part of a parallel universe, and they possess the ability to travel between universes at will. And it kind of just goes off with that. It like keeps getting more devolved. And I'm like, this is
To different bench press sets from every universe. That's how they get around.
yeah. It's like, what if Sigma males are actually the descendants of ancient gods and demigods with a genetic predisposition for greatness? And then I think my final one was, okay, make it really weird. And they're like, what if Sigma males are actually shapeshifters and can actually
Yes.
shapeshift into birds or any inanimate objects? Maybe that's why they possess their physical traits or blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, whatever, like the stereotypical Sigma male traits. Yeah, I was generating this. I was like, this is great content, but I don't know if we can actually have a serious conversation about this because this is not a.
Yeah, you want to. I mean, sure, it's a funny like thing to read about, but it's not something we could.
We
have a
could actually
discussion
talk
on.
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a couple with. I had a couple other ones where I was trying to get ChatGPT to be cringy. That's right.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
What's a word for like what's a word to describe trends that you think are because of some overarching plot, right? Like Illuminati type stuff. What's the word
Conspiracy
to
theory.
describe that? Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's okay.
I think that would
I'm
work.
working on making a thing.
Or a tinfoil hat kind of thing.
Sorry, typing.
You're good.
I was generating some potential conversation topics, and we'll see what.
Yeah.
We'll see
I
what
don't
comes
know.
up with.
Sean, you sent us one earlier in the week that I
Yeah.
thought was actually pretty good.
Those were-
it was a
Well, those are just rant topics, right?
Yeah.
Which are like these. Which, to be fair, some of them were actually kind of good.
Some of them
I
were
thought.
pretty good, I think. Yeah.
the number 10 is very good.
Well, that's just breaking the
I'm
fourth
forgetting
wall.
what number 10 was.
That one was
but
like
I'm waiting for this to finish before I go back.
Yeah. Number 10 was like explain how like AI is taking away creativity from humans and you're
Oh, yeah.
relying on AI to do things for you instead of being
it's-
creative
Honestly,
yourself.
that's actually. Can we talk about that for a minute?
Sure, let's do it. First
Because-
one.
because-
All
First
right,
one.
wait. First, let's read this actual prompt, which is the overall. So one of the niche rants is the over reliance on automation and algorithms to make important decisions and judgment calls instead of using human judgment.
And intuition.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly ironic that we're coming up with this conversation topic from automation and algorithm
Absolutely.
machine
It's probably
learning thing.
It's probably just like a
That's
default
kind of the funniest thing.
default ask.
But I think it's like a really valid topic in general. I mean, I think people are becoming pretty reliant on some of that, but not entirely, you know? I mean, obviously their algorithms and stuff like that influence incredibly what people see, and it becomes this almost echo chamber type situation just in every situation, like ads, which contribute to activities you do or art you buy, anything, right? But that's definitely over-reliance. I'm not sure how you guys think about that, but that's kind of crazy how much we're influenced by that.
Absolutely.
Just right off the bat.
I mean, I notice it. Like, I always keep like a kind of a running track on my YouTube recommendations because that's probably like the social media kind of like pseudo social media that I use the most, right? And like, if I watch one video, I will like noticeably see my YouTube recommendations change, especially if it's like on like anything. Like, I try not to be super like politically or political, and I don't try to get political on this podcast, but like I'll watch like, oh, something related to XYZ incident and it's flavored in this light. Also, in a bunch of things, not just kind of that echo chamber effect, right? It'll be the exact same stuff, right? Honestly, it's why I try to.
It's confirmation bias.
Yeah, and that's why I try to in YouTube. I try to have this broad range of stuff because I'll watch a video on this from like a very different perspective, and then watch a video on this to try to like change up my recommendations so I don't get like inundated just with one ideological niche.
But that's actually super, unique of you. I don't think many people would search out another opinion, right?
Yeah.
To the point where they see they see recommendations, which just reinforces their opinion and their confirmation that they are the right.
Yeah.
On whatever topic you're searching, right?
Yeah.
It could be dumb. It could be actually important. It doesn't matter. Like it's still that recommendation is stuff you like. So therefore, it just is a positive feedback loop.
I think that's just a huge problem with internet culture in general. It's just a lot of people aren't fact checking. I think, at least. I feel like you come into a ton of situations where people don't fact check, and I honestly don't know sometimes if people are just trying to get a rise out of you. They're like playing the other way, or if they're actually ignorant. Sometimes I actually wonder about that.
I feel it's like, especially a lot of times articles now, I feel like are genuinely designed to create like
discourse or something like that.
Just to create hate views.
Discourse.
Right?
Yeah, it's like a hate read, hate watching.
A great example of this that kind of recently, it's not so much an article, but a show, was the Velma show, right?
Yeah, hate watching for sure.
Oh yeah.
There's
the internet hated that.
It's so bad,
right?
It's objectively bad.
And there's like kind of this whole like almost conspiracy theory behind it that it's just designed for hate watching, right?
What's that?
Basically,
is that a new
people
thing?
watching it because it creates. It's kind of like the whole idiom that any bad publicity or any publicity is good publicity, bad or good.
Right. Okay.
And it's like hate watching, hate viewing is just trying to get clicks, get interaction, because people hate whatever it is or are angered by it. Therefore, they interact with it. Versus something that's positive.
That's true. I mean, what platform was this on? Was it a streaming service?
Yeah, I think
HBO,
HBO, right?
Yeah.
Was it direct to that, or was it? It's not on television, right? Because my thinking is, I could completely see, and I know that happens already, right? I mean, especially in news articles, it's. You create the controversial topics to get people there because they'll see ads, and that's the revenue. Like your click-through rate is what generates money in ad revenue, right? So if most people aren't going to go watch something. There's like a very big valley between extremely good and extremely bad, but most people will click on the thing that's bad, just like what you're saying, this hate-watching thing.
Yeah.
You're very rarely going to get the Game of Thrones, right? You're more going it's a lot easier to make bad content that people are going to hate on. So
yeah,
they would just click to that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting because it's like it's just trying to push the buttons of everyone. It's trying to be politically incorrect to every single group, and it's trying to get a rise out of people, I feel like. And
you think, because I haven't even seen a single clip of this show, so have you seen anything of it?
I watched like one episode, I think, to exactly to your points, to see how bad it was, and it was just as bad as everyone is saying it is. I've only seen one episode
I
though.
wonder if they're like intentional or just they were just idiots making the show. Completely oblivious.
I gotta think it's intentional. I mean, we're in this weird valley where it's like, I don't even know. Like some people think like I can see a lot of people thinking like that Velma is what you think would be a good show. It's almost like making fun of the person who
Should we
enjoys
describe what Velma is for someone who has no
Velma.
idea?
So Velma is it a retelling of the Scooby-Doo story, or it's a throwback? It's like Velma's origin story, right? And like
from Scooby-Doo.
From Scooby-Doo. And they're in high school, and all the OG characters are there except for Scooby-Doo, the dog, because apparently he's an idiot or something. I don't know. She talks about how he's like dumb and isn't actually part of the
mean
crew.
Shaggy.
Yeah, or something like that.
Not that Scooby-Doo the dog, but Shaggy's the guy.
Yeah, but they like changed all the characters. Like Fred is like a pretty wholesome guy in Scooby-Doo, and now he's just this like preppy like douchebag who's just like super like racist and just like not PC at all. Velma's like really, really snarky, so she makes fun of pretty much everyone and is truly very unlikable as a character.
Yeah,
She's
and then
just,
isn't
like,
Daphne like a drug dealer?
Daphne's like an Asian drug dealer. They changed the races of all of them
So they changed the race of everybody except Fred.
except Fred, because Shaggy is now African American. Velma is Indian, I think.
Well, isn't she voiced by Mindy?
I don't know.
I always remember her from The Office.
I don't know, but like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of
right.
just Velma's just like throwing everybody under the bus for just random stuff, and I don't know.
Dang.
It's supposed to be this origin story of like Velma lost her mother, spoilers, and now she's like driven to be this detective lady, but she's actually just a huge bitch, and just like
an asshole.
she's a terrible person. I can't give too many examples just because I've only seen one episode, but
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
hate
she's
watch
just-
that one episode.
yeah, it's just she's a terrible person. She makes fun of she like makes fun of everyone without any like standing to do so. It's like very is the word ironic? It's like someone who has no right to be making fun of someone, but is also just making fun of everyone. It's kind of like you're the dummy, but you like think you're on this high and mighty pillar, so you're dishing it out, but you have no right to or reason to. I don't know. It's really bad. It's just an adult play on Scooby-Doo, essentially.
Yeah.
Like they
And
said,
I really think
deconstruction
we're
of
going to
it.
start seeing more of that type of stuff. You know?
we are seeing more of that.
It just... I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of it.
Yeah, like throwbacks to shows or hate watchable shows. Do you mean?
The hate watchable stuff.
Yeah.
You know, stuff that gets people aggravated because, like Michael said, talking about it, and then that's just part of the media empire now. You know.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
that's why Twitter exists,
already
right?
easy and already easy to get anybody angry about anything nowadays, but the new competition is going to be how angry can you get people, you know?
Which is just like silly. It's
And
almost
see what happens.
It's like the Reddit comment section, sort by controversial, but it's like actually
Yeah.
being monetized now, and it's like I don't like that. That's not cool.
Sort by most downvoted. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which
It's,
people do.
It's bad.
Yeah, don't
That's
watch
crazy.
it. Don't watch the show.
Yeah, I haven't. I had no intention to, but this is a new term that Michael has taught me. I did not know this was a thing, but it makes total sense. I think.
Yeah.
That something like that would
Yeah.
happen, especially nowadays. I want to say within the last 8-ish years, right? Five years. When just everyone, all of a sudden, there's cancel culture. That's when the whole thing started, right? When that started,
I think a bit. I feel like cancel culture is a little different. I think it's more so as we've gotten to a point. Like I feel like we've gone through the golden age of TV, right? And we've gotten to a point where like shows are like so good, or like there's such a high bar that a lot of times a show just normally watching it is kind of meh, and it's hard to create a really like outstanding show. And then
yeah.
so the other way to get views, and the fairly
Easier way.
easier way
Easier
to
way.
get views, is just to create something that everyone hates on. So
It's like it's
Can
like way less.
I feel
effort.
it's more apparent with like news articles and stuff. because I'll see just
definitely.
that. Just
They went
inundated,
first, right?
inundated
And
with
now
it,
the
yeah.
Yeah.
entertainment industry. I want to make a tangent.
Sure.
Because I feel like I have to mention this, even though it's not part of our conversation at all. You just mentioned hard to make really good shows. Have either of you been watching The Last of Us?
Oh, yeah, I've been watching it. I'm through episode 3.
Yeah, same.
Okay, that's what I saw too. I haven't seen 4 yet. That's such a masterpiece of a show.
It's
right.
It's very good.
It's damn
Yeah.
good.
I've never played the games. They're based on video games. But from what I've heard from the video game people, it's really good, which is a huge compliment.
Yeah.
And I think they're just doing it so well. Like every episode, I have this like knot of tension in my chest, right? Because obviously it's based on a video game. I know Joel and Ellie are going to get to the end of the. I think they're going to get to the end of the game, right? But besides that, anything goes. I don't know what shape they're going to be in at the end of the story.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, or like
it's crazy.
yeah. What I like about it is that, from my understanding, right? I never played the game, so I remember when I was younger, I watched like a compilation because I didn't have a PS4.
Sure.
It was a PS4 exclusive, right? I didn't have I didn't have a console for that, right? So I'm like, I want to know the story, so I'll watch the cutscenes, right? I enjoyed the story at least, and like I watched a full playthrough of it. Or maybe not full, but I watched a big chunk of it.
Yeah.
And so I know that story. And to me, it seems like they're quite deviating off it. And
You think so?
well, yeah, like the whole the story with the what's his face,
Ron Swanson.
Ron Swanson, yeah,
Swanson, like Nick Offerman.
yeah, that was totally different in the games. And
Yeah.
Well, do they go into his backstory in the games?
I don't even know. I don't know if they
think so.
do. I only got
Because
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think it'd be different if they change the ending to that or if they're just taking a character that was in the game and giving them a backstory. I think that's two different things, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know if he was even in the games.
yeah, he was in the games, and I'm pretty sure that. You meet him in the games.
Oh, okay.
So
So he was alive.
yeah.
Spoilers. And then
Yeah.
spoilers. Big spoilers.
And so it's very different. Yeah. And well, you meet one of the guys. Fuck, I forgot his name already. I'm terrible with names. But yeah. So
I
it's
like how the game is shot like a video game. Have you guys been noticing that?
I really liked the one scene where they're in the car and they had the still behind the characters on the first episode, which was super true to the video game. But like, kind of like you're saying, like they'll do, they have a couple shots in there that are very similar to the video game where they'll like go into a place, it'll like draw back, show the place, and then kind of go back into them.
oh yeah, I guess that's weird.
As in you're resuming play.
Kinda,
It's like a
yeah.
cutscene. The biggest one I thought was when there was in the first episode when the burning car cuts off the brother and Joel, right? Mm-hmm. And the brother goes, "Go around. I'll meet you at the river."
Total video game moment.
Complete, like that is exactly when cutscene's over. I now control the guy and I learn how to play the game and get to the river.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly
Total
what
video
would
game
have
moment right
happened.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't know if that happened in the game, but I'd be willing to bet money.
I
it did.
believe it did. I believe that opening was very true. It was longer than the actual game because they didn't draw it out for like 30 minutes or whatever, that intro.
Sure, yeah.
But it is very, very true to it. They built it up a little bit more. They built up the ominousness of the whole thing.
And I think they also built up well, one I thought was cool was the whole wheat thing, right? So that like I remember watching videos on it when episode 1 came out. And I was like, oh, and everyone's like, oh, talk about the wheat theory, that the wheat is what initially spread the virus, right? Because and then obviously later on you realize that's the case. Which I thought was kind of cool. They didn't really go into the story of how the virus actually first started, right? How cordyceps jumped from ants and insects to humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they allude to it, in the very beginning on the talk show, right?
Yeah.
It just, the thing evolves to withstand a higher temperature, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no confirmed or of anything.
Yeah. I don't know. It was, I thought it was really good. No, I mean, but they definitely, I mean, it was definitely the wheat. It was what caused the initial outbreak. Because everyone who,
Well, that to be everywhere all at once, yeah.
yeah.
That made sense. Like a lot of it, I think I'm comparing this a lot to Walking Dead, right? Because it's another hit infection type show,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When it first started.
Sure, yeah.
And for some reason, I feel that this is way more grounded, right? In actual stuff, right? Walking Dead, zombies, right?
Yeah.
Nowhere has zombies existed. However, this cordyceps is an actual thing that happens, right?
Yeah.
Documented. It's a actual fungus. We know how it works, right? Besides the ability to counteract it at all, which is also real,
Yeah.
I mean,
So
there's some counteraction. Cordyceps, like, people inhale cordyceps all the time. It just doesn't interact with people like that because it,
right,
yeah.
because it can't survive.
Yeah.
But that's
and
what the
also-
thing. Like, if it could, that's why I really like how grounded it is.
Yeah, it's kind of like a what if almost. Like,
Well,
okay.
there's some weirdness, like the whole like hive mind thing. Like that's a little out there. That the entire fungus is like this hive mind
Sure,
kind of thing,
yeah.
versus just like individual. It's not.
I find so much.
It's not a
at least how
conscious organism.
Right.
It's more of like a, more like it has very specific biological processes that go to this
Yeah.
point, right?
I didn't get so much of the hive mind, more so that like they were just connected, like physically, which to me is not a hive mind, and then they just
The fungus spread.
It's, but yeah, it's a valid point though. It is kind of hive mindish. So
But still, like,
at least how they one of the scenes they go to.
yeah, they try to explain it, and I'm not a huge, like, I haven't watched The Walking Dead, but isn't that kind of just like they are zombies now, and it's not really about how the infection started, right? It's more about after the fact.
No, it's just more about living.
Yeah. So it is a little bit of a different goal both shows are trying to achieve, whereas Walking Dead's more like, okay, zombies, and now it's the story after, whereas The Last of Us is at least kind of going towards like there was an infection, tried to find the cure, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also about survival as well, but
I just think so many scenes. What I really like about the show, right? Because I haven't played the games, I don't know how it's going to end. It's like, so I'm going into it as if it's just a show, and I feel or so many moments have such a gravitas to them, right? Such a note of finality, right? When the female doctor was doing the autopsy, and the military guy's like, "What do we do?" And she just start bomb everything.
just bomb it. Yeah.
It's one of those moments where I think, oh my god, like this is so intense.
Right. And-
What's
and
being
she says
discussed
that
right now?
knowing that she's in this city, and
Knowing she's there,
Yeah, she's
there's,
just like-
there's nothing you can do.
yeah, that
Sucks.
I think they've done stuff like that super well. That's my favorite part of the show.
yeah. My only
Yeah.
gripe I'd say is that knowing that like Joel and Ellie are kind of safe, because they are
Oh,
main
they're
characters.
the protagonists.
they are
Yeah.
main characters. Yeah.
yeah, it's that kind of sucks, and you're like always like, okay, which NPCs are going to get killed next, or which
Right.
But like those two are safe, right? But at least there's like, but that can also be really good. There's plenty of shows. It's on the tip of my tongue right now of another show that does it extremely well with the whole. You don't really. It's actually another adaptation. Fuck. That sucks.
It's like the protagonist is going to live, but the
Yeah, because
the situations are still tense.
the situation's still tense because you may grow attached to these like non-player character type people, right?
Right.
And you're like, they're gonna die, but like you hope that they just don't die horribly, and they usually
Yeah.
do. And
Okay.
I'm trying to remember that. Fuck. Yeah.
Well, I think there's also the other side of that is, sure, I may know this person is going to live, right? Mm-hmm. But just because you live doesn't mean you get out unscathed, right?
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that they're going to have to go through, how is that going to change them, or affect them, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm still concerned and nervous about.
Yeah, there's
when I watch the show.
I know I played the game up to a fair amount. I think when I first played the game, I rented it, so I didn't actually get through it all. But I got to a certain point where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop playing now because I was still young, and it just keeps getting worse. Like it keeps devolving. Like a lot of stuff happens. But I also think that I don't know. I won't go too far into it. I think there's other things the show is going to do well, and that the Last of Us universe does really well. I won't talk about them now because I think it might get a little bit into spoiler territory. But yeah, it's a good show.
I hope they continue to adapt it close enough to the video game to appease everybody, right? Because they could follow the video game. I would have no idea. But I'm guessing so many people like the video game. It's a good story. I would say without having seen it.
Yeah.
I don't.
So if they can just adapt it, it would make the video game people happy. It would make me happy.
I'm the opposite. I think they should go down a different path because
Really?
the video game story has been told, but the universe and the feelings that it evokes, right? Kind of the desperation, the sense of impending doom and dread, and that like all you're trying to do is survive, right? And try to enjoy maybe like a small moment there, right? Like you have like episode 3, some of that story, right? You're like try to enjoy these little tiny moments, but in the end, stuff is not going to go right, and no one's end is going to be, they die in bed at the age of 80 kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I think that they should go off it because they've got a great world and a great story base to go off of, but just start making these, stick with Joel and Ellie, but you don't have to go follow the exact story because that story's already been told and told very well.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's
true.
Yeah, you can change it. And I feel like there's also a lot more freedom for the, if you go right against the video game, right, it's hard to compete with a video game just due to the interactability, right?
Yeah,
and
sure.
And the emotional attachment.
I don't know about that because there's some people who will never play the game, but still would very much enjoy the story.
Right. I think
like you never played it, you just watched it, Michael.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, playing
And
the
you
game,
still enjoyed it.
Playing the game is excellent because like that's we're getting into video games versus like TV shows, but that's where it's like now you can die and you can end the story like prematurely kind of thing, and it's terrifying to like be in that situation. But going back to the thing of like not changing the story, I feel like you are signing yourself up, at least like critically, and your fan base is gonna not like it if they go off too much. Like these small one-off stories that show the world a little bit more, I think are good. But if you change like Joel and Ellie's endpoint, that story, at least for the first, because there's 2 games. First game, super well received. Second game, not super awesomely received. So maybe if they change stuff from the second game, people will be okay with it. But if the first game, I feel like if you change anything with that, people are going to be like,
the ending
bruh.
was definitely, I think, I don't want to spoil the ending, but I hope they don't change the ending, but I hope they change maybe some of the moments, how they get there, right? And maybe add characters that are are really compelling, and maybe
and go with them
and
later.
Well, maybe they meet and then they survive for a couple episodes.
Oh
and
yeah,
they get fucking
and then they die.
Engaged.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think like if you're gonna make a video game adaptation, right? For example, Michael, you're saying we don't want to have an adaptation. If you're gonna make an adaptation, use the world, but don't use the characters, right? But I think if it's something that's not been done before, right? They've not made any a TV show of The Last of Us, and they called it The Last of Us. If I was in charge of Hollywood or whatever, make the game make the TV show 1-to-1 first game, right? Everyone liked the first game, 1-to-1 it. Then you can drop that story, and you can use the universe, because then you've achieved the appeasement of the community and you've gotten them hooked, and then you've gotten the new viewers who have never seen it but have risen the hype, because now if you have this vocal minority of the video game people saying this was an amazing adaptation, blah blah, you hook so many more people who have never played the game and will watch the show. And then you can make a new thing without making them mad, just to make new characters, same universe, what you're saying, Michael. But now you have a fan base that's going to like the show.
That's a good point.
And they've locked them in.
Exception I say that is the Marvel, because I feel like there's a point where your adaptations, like maybe for the first couple, sure, but I feel like all the time, well, any TV show does this too, where the adaptation slowly just kind of derails and
That's true.
It goes down.
I'm not saying you make this a 20-year show, right?
Yeah.
Maybe another season or two of some other stuff, right? Not a Walking Dead has gone on too long.
Oh yeah,
They should have ended it after the first 5 seasons, you know?
that's
what,
the
10
story of every
seasons now?
TV show, though, right? Is that every TV show either is cut off too early, Firefly, or it is goes on for too long, right? It either die a
I
hero
don't know.
or you live.
Stargate has ended perfectly.
You die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself
That is the
become the
perfect
villain.
analogy.
That
It's
is
like
the-
you live
that-
long enough to become the villain is like the inevitable, like long running show. Like you will not keep
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
I don't know. Hold on. Let me give you some examples. Simpsons, still running, still a good show.
Is it still
Yeah.
like appreciated as
I
much
think people
though?
still like it. Yeah,
I feel like
I think it's good.
I mean I think it maybe it's not like horrendous. You know, it's not like like really dying, but I feel like most people are into the old Simpsons. That could be nostalgia talking though. Maybe
Yeah.
the new generation isn't watching the Simpsons, so that's why I feel like the old Simpsons is portrayed as being better or something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, like Grey's Anatomy, bruh, you have like 20 seasons in, and that show is only being it's only on for like the
What about
monetization.
Survivor?
Hey,
I think Survivor has gone down a little bit.
Yeah.
Just in this, it's still really good, but it's not the same as it used to be.
yeah, I think Survivor's run into the issue where it's like people are just know the game so well. It's you have to mix it up somehow, and I don't. They're getting to the point where it's really hard to mix it up in a really creative way. In my opinion, like it's still interesting, but you have so many classic moments. I don't know. Survivor has the issue, in my opinion, where they should go back to like the basics. Just go back to just idols. No extra Exile Island. No other stuff.
Well, the thing with Survivor as well is they're too easy on the contestants now. You know,
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, you've seen the original seasons, Colton.
yeah.
If they tip the rice over into the fire, too bad. You're
too
going
bad,
without
man.
food.
Yeah.
Nowadays, food isn't even a concern to the people. It used to be a big deal in Survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
There were some-
They even had they even had the rewards challenges every so often, where you could the auction the food auction was so good.
The food auction was
Remember
really
when
good.
they stopped doing food auctions?
Well, here's the thing. I think they stopped doing the food auctions because they played Jeff one of those times. They were like, what he brought out a fake box, and they're like, guys, statistically, these are the letters, so just bet $1. Trust me, bet $1, and like we'll all get it or something like that. So like you could raise the bid, and everyone who matched it got the box item. So one lady's like, just bet $1, we'll all get our things, and Jeff got really mad. And he said, "Okay, we're not doing that again," or something like that.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, you game the system, and that's part of the game,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
But and then you do have to change it. And that's fair.
Yeah.
But
I like the food
you
auction.
still got to
too.
make something similar.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
So
I like how we've derailed so much from.
we can just drop my podcast full topic entirely just because
Well,
we got to do
hold
our
on.
homework
I wanna-
for it. You know.
That's
don't know.
true. But I do want to tell you what I was trying to generate.
Oh, okay.
Earlier.
Gotcha.
So I thought, all right, I said create a conversation topic about high mythological lore influencing current day trends, right?
That's
And then it had this, standard stuff, right? Stuff in fashion, pop culture, like, oh, Percy Jackson is there, arts inspired, like that's all. Everyone knows that, right?
gotta have thrown
So then
about
I
Percy
said,
Jackson
change the
in 15 years.
conversation. Change the conversation to involve more conspiracy theories. Is what I said.
Nice.
And then it said stuff about secret societies. So some people believe the Illuminati have roots in ancient mythologies. Political influence. Conspiracy theories suggest that politicians and world leaders are influenced by ancient myths and use them to further their own agendas. For example, some believe that the symbol of the all-seeing eye, often associated with the Egyptian god Horus, I think, is a symbol of secret global organization that controls world events. Which it's just a straight conspiracy theory at this point.
Right.
It's not exactly what I was going for, But
now,
I don't, well, it's hard to make a good actual conversation, I think, through this. It just because it gives you just points.
Yeah, and then you get too wild and it goes way off the rails. But now Sean changed the topic to include the variable of sigma males in the.
God.
No, because that's not a conversation, dude.
No.
That's just a.
How are sigma males involved in this as well?
What makes me laugh about going back to what you mentioned, the whole like conversations with Sigma, you put that in there, and sometimes it would just say Sigma male as like essentially a noun, right?
Yeah.
Use that as almost like a variable. Like it didn't actually change the topic. And there's moments where it understood the idea what is this quote unquote Sigma. Like you mentioned something like, oh, what's the difference between the alpha, sigma, beta, whatever thing, right? And it mentioned that. And I was like, okay, so it actually understands what we're referencing here.
Right.
It's weird.
One interesting thing I wanted to bring up that's not a topic, but part of the topics is, so you know how I would go into these, ask it a prompt, hey, make it weird, make it wild, make it whatever. Eventually, I think I would like do one, and then eventually I was like, make it make this a topic make it a similar topic, but it would immediately get the podcast canceled. And then ChatGPT was like, okay, I can't do that. I can't put controversial stuff out.
Hold my beer.
But then I would be like, generate a podcast topic about working out for people in the nursing industry, but make it weird. And then usually it would generate something for that, right? Just a weird topic. But it would be like, I can't do that because weird is like not politically correct. Not politically correct, but it was like, I can't do that because that is like offensive or whatever. And it started, anytime I started putting weird or make this like strange, it would just say, hey, that's not, I can't do that anymore.
I can't do
So I had to put a new tab open, and then I'd ask the same question and it answered it for me. And I'm like, did it just like think I was egging it on or something and it just stopped answering me? What's going on here?
Interesting, yeah.
It was weird. It was like, it thought I was trying to get it to like say something bad, so it just shut it down.
Huh.
One of my actual topics it generated, if you guys wanna go on to another topic that might be interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
I
What's
just
up?
realized the list of 10 topics that Sean said, I'm going through them again, and I just realized we literally hit on like 3 of them just unintentionally. One was
really?
the prevalence of clickbait headlines in the media.
Nice.
We literally just talked about that. The way social media algorithms prioritize engagement over content quality, which is what we're talking about, the hate watching.
Yep.
And then way people are no, we didn't talk about that one. No, that was it. So it was just those 2. But I thought that was really funny that we just literally approached that totally unintentionally.
I mean, there is another good one on that list, which is number 8, which is the way people are losing their attention span due to the constant bombardment of information.
Hell yeah, man. So as someone with ADHD, it's like ADHD the max.
Do you guys feel you're actually like, I feel like I was using social media and my phone as mostly like a social nervousness twitch almost. Like if you like are alone or like in a spot where you're uncomfortable, you use that as like your comfort food type thing. As far as what, Mike?
Yeah, I'd say I definitely have that thing, or I'll use it as an excuse to get out of an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah.
Done that a couple times. Like I'll be like, oh, there's a text, or text someone right now so I have an excuse to get the fuck out of this situation.
Yeah. I feel like maybe I'm just not on my phone as much because I'm not on social media very much anymore. And I feel like that is the biggest sink for attention span, like the scrolling, just the attitude or the lifestyle, the scrolling lifestyle. But I don't know. I feel like my attention span isn't terrible anymore, or isn't super terrible because of the phones. And I don't know if I ever actually felt like my attention span specifically was dwindling. It was a lot of other things it was doing, but my attention span specifically being hindered. Unless I'm just ignorant to it. Maybe I'm just super ignorant to how it affected me.
Well, do you not feel
at
that?
least for me,
go for it, John.
I was gonna say, at least for me, I think that it's not hard to maintain attention on something, right? For me. But because of the amount of information, you have to be very quick and selective about what you're viewing. And therefore it can manifest itself in what would be seen as less of an attention span, because there's so much. You got to be able to, if you want to see everything, then you can't be focusing on any one thing too long. But I don't know as that affected me too much, because I'm pretty good about refining or filtering what I want to see, and just not, going my way to try and see everything. Right? I get to a point. I am now fulfilled. I am seeing all the things that I want to see. I do not need to search out more stuff. Right? And therefore, I'm not spending even more time trying to look at it's like anything. Right? I don't know if that makes sense, but
it's like yeah.
It's like a self-restrictive
Yeah,
thing.
it's like you don't let yourself get distracted. You are conscious of it, and you try to not get distracted.
That's good.
In a way, but I mean, of course, there's always, there's periods where you want to, I'm looking for something else, or you dial it back. I do think, though, I forget if one of you mentioned like scrolling on your phone in public, but I find that I will actively not do that occasionally. Like think of not doing it just to kind of like just observe, look around, and just avoid going on social media and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because both people don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Or definitely people like talking and then scrolling, like quote unquote multitasking. I'm bad about it, but not in that way. Like if I'm in a conversation with someone, totally fine. Just doing it. My problem is if I'm like in between something, I'll be like, I need to like keep my brain like. This may just be an age. I just need to keep my brain active, think about something. So a lot of times, YouTube, put in one earbud, and then like shit, like even when cooking or something like that, I always like to have like a video. To me, it's mostly like documentaries or something with that information, and just consistently just feeding myself information. Doesn't even have to be that useful. It can be about random. Like I was listening to one about it was one about how like the linguistic roots of a bunch of languages are very similar, like the Indo-European linguistic roots.
Yeah.
This has no effect on my daily life, but it's kind of an interesting topic, and it's interesting to try to understand this. And also I find linguistics pretty interesting, but in general, so I'll throw that on and I'm cooking up lunch.
Oh yeah.
And so for me, it's more like this just is like, I don't spend like a ton of like crazy time, but it's like a lot of times I'll be doing something that I can like, part of my brain I can like shut off, and then, or if I want to migrate to something else, like playing games is another great example. Like sometimes there'll be games like, I want to play this game. Like maybe I have to do some building, right? I can just work with my creative side, but then like part of my brain just isn't working right. And then I'm like, well, I'll listen to something like a documentary or something like that while also building. Just like, so it's this weird, I don't know, maybe it's just because it's like a dopamine saturation. Like you have like so much stuff going on. It's just,
yeah, it's weird. If I'm super into something like a video game, I usually don't want something else distracting me. But it's kind of with you, you're like, I gotta build, I'm gonna do this creative thing, but I also want this other thing supplementing that. Like, okay, when I'm at work and I'm designing something in CAD, I'll put stuff on. I'll put music on in my head nowadays. Sometimes like a documentary. I never used to do that. But now it's like if it's menial or really tedious, more like a lot of work instead of a lot of creative thinking that needs to go into it, I'll listen to that, and I'll probably retain 10% of what's being taught, of what's actually going on while I'm doing my thing. But I'm still like kind of engaged in this other activity. But that's interesting.
That's for me. I say that like for like the game thing, because a lot of times I'll be doing something kind of like menial. Like I gotta go mine some stuff. Like I was playing a bit of Valheim because I wanted to work on. I had a building design that just popped in my head, and I'm like, oh, I can build this in Valheim. So I messed around with that. Right. I already have the design, so I don't have to think about that. It's more about just the menial process of actually putting shit together. And then I'm like, well, if I'm doing that menial process, I better like listen to something to keep my brain active while also doing this kind of menial task. Do the same thing at work. I have to do something menial. Trying to think of like, I don't know, inventory or crap like that, or I'm provisioning computers. That is super menial. I have it mostly automated, so I just go, right. I just do the steps and then just put in something to listen to it. Yeah. So.
I feel I'm much more single track. You know, if I'm doing something, that's what I'm doing.
That's very good.
I definitely will have music accompanying most things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially like, you know, I listen to music constantly at work, right? Only if there's not existing music, right? If I'm playing a video game, I'm not going to be listening to music because there's music in the video
Yeah.
game.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? A lot of times I shut off
No, I never do
the
that.
video game music, and I'll replace it with whatever I won't listen to. Because sometimes video games are just like, Valheim's a great example. Like, there's some good stuff, but for the most part, I'm like, I'm gonna listen to something.
It's just
either
ambient
on my
music.
thing. Ambient. It's like ambient. I'll just listen to
Yeah.
something else or something I really want to listen to.
I don't know.
I mean, in your specific example, Michael, of like mining, right? If I'm playing Minecraft, right? When I played a lot of Minecraft, yeah, I'd put on YouTube on the side, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily have to think to play that game, but I'm still like building stuff and doing stuff. But I don't necessarily am not paying full attention to what's on YouTube. So there are instances where I'll multitask in a way, but I do a lot less of that than I think some people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to try and stay focused on one thing. And I honestly, I think I've said this before, but I'm bad a lot of the times listening to music while I'm doing something because it distracts me. I almost want to go into
in your own head.
I go into my own head. I'm like, this music takes me on a wild journey in this like imaginary daydream land, and then I get nothing done.
Absolutely.
So I have to be really careful with that. But sometimes I don't know. I've been starting to do it a little bit more. It's not music. It's documentaries. It's not like specifically because I can kind of not take in the documentary stuff as well as music, which is so backwards. I feel like music should be the thing.
Also, I feel like
could get out.
there's a difference between like the documentary and how music like it interacts with like how it interacts with your mind differently, because the documentary is much more, it's information. Yet, and I also feel like I'm being at least mildly productive if I'm listening a documentary or like something, even though I'm technically not. There's like, I just feel it's like eating something. Like, they're both junk food, but
Yeah.
one's slightly better for you. One's got a little bit of protein in it or something like that. That's what I feel like with listening to documentaries. So I don't feel as guilty. It's not like I'm like listening to some like VTuber video or some stupid shit like that, right? Which I still enjoy and still watch, but you know, that's entertainment versus like somewhat informative entertainment.
I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah.
From Colton. I need music to focus. If I don't, I won't get things done.
So where does your mind go if you don't have music? Is it just like, oh, I'm bored right now? Like,
I start thinking to myself, and then I can't.
And that's never a good thing.
And that's never a good
what
thing.
does it do, like specific? Like, do you daydream kind of? Like, do you have a daydream kind of mode where it's like silent?
Yeah, I guess so. I do a lot of daydreaming, or just thinking. Right? I don't know. I mean, about things I should do that is not work.
Yeah, just anything not work.
Or even if I'm at work and other things at work, I'm like, no, I need to focus on this task. I can't be thinking about that other thing, right? I don't know why music. I think music focuses me because it distracts that part of my brain with a song.
Yeah.
Because I'm like going along with it, or the beat, makes me distracts me from that. Because otherwise, I'll be, like Michael said, what imaging a computer.
Yeah.
Setting up a firewall rule, and then I'm thinking, well, I do need eggs.
Yeah, right, you're gonna do.
Okay, and then I should go to this place after work, and then it's like, no, I can't.
That's interesting. So, is that? I wonder if it's because that part of your. I don't know. I'm just pulling shit out of my ass, but like, I was thinking maybe it's like that because you as you're talking about this, you're talking about things you need to do versus Colton and I. It's I'm just going to go on a journey. I want to create a story in my head and daydream, right? I noticed that with EDM, that is my like focus music. If I want to actually like truly get down and focus on something, I would listen to EDM because I don't really generate stories. I don't daydream with that. That's just like I don't know if it's the it gets your adrenaline going or something like that. But that usually focuses me. But like if I'm listening to classical or a video game soundtrack, I'll like reminisce or associate it with something.
I get way too like daydreamed into whatever that. If it's like orchestral game soundtrack specifically, it even goes further for me. I feel like there are some game, and maybe this is normal actually, but there are certain soundtracks I feel like if I didn't know the source material, I wouldn't like them. But then I do, and I like know the story and emotions behind it.
I don't know, man. The Doom soundtrack just slaps regardless.
Yeah, there is definitely like soundtracks that slap regardless. But there's
Well, I was gonna say, there's like if I'm listening to the Halo 2 soundtrack, I am productive, right?
Really?
I am getting things
dude, I
done,
would be so
you know?
distracted. I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think I'd be like,
I'm like, yeah, let's finish the fight. Let's go. You know? Yeah, I mean, for me, that's how that operates at least. Like it focuses me and gives me like a direction, you know.
Interesting.
maybe it's like you had all these focused multiplayer matches, and now that music now just hits your focus part of your brain for anything.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that when I'm playing Halo, right, I'm focused,
Yeah,
right? When
you're focusing.
I'm recalling the memories of what I was doing or my mindset at the time.
Yep.
And not necessarily playing the game, right? But just the state of my mind.
You're trying
at
to
the
finish
time.
the fight.
Yeah, and that is what kind of gets me. That's what I get out of listening to it later.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If I'm working, right, I could just listen to the soundtrack and think, oh yeah, I remember when I shot that guy with a rocket. You know, like, sure, but I think that's not only when I'm not working. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
or working on some other task. I don't know how to describe that.
And to be fair, you're the only one who is 100% work in office versus work from home or hybrid like me.
True, but I think the same would happen regardless.
Really?
You know.
Yeah.
Huh.
Dang.
Interesting. I find that difference. Interesting. Yeah. I'm totally like just listen to a good
get me outta
soundtrack.
here.
I'm zoned.
Yeah.
But it's great for menial tasks because it keeps you engaged
Yeah.
in something
That's-
while doing something really fucking boring.
That's
like
like
provisioning computers.
That's the happy medium for me. It's like, I guess if I am doing something really boring that doesn't need a lot of brain power, maybe like getting off into that daydream la la land while I do that one menial thing. Now that's probably a good situation where I would like that, but most of the time, nah. I also, Mike, your room is like black, and I keep expecting that one like face from Backrooms to just appear.
Don't even say that, man. Now
that
my
would be
brain's just going.
terrifying.
That's a little
I'm just
freaky,
looking
yeah.
at my back, Allison, and go,
It's like,
yeah, yeah, right.
Dear God.
That's freaking me out. Stop it.
Turn on the light.
yeah, turn on the light, get your flashlight
Or
out,
the
bro.
wire man comes out of there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. All right, guys. Well,
Good.
I think we should probably wrap this boy up, unless you guys have any closing thoughts on anything amazing on any of these great Chat GPT topics here. But we'll have to try this again.
I would
maybe.
like to revisit it.
What's that?
Yeah, I want to revisit it, but try to get it to come up with actual conversation topics.
Us three have to
Not
do
just
it.
a Chat Sigma thing.
It's a team effort, guys. Each one of us has to come up with a good conversation topic.
Yeah, I'm cool with that, but
Yeah.
it's got to be something we can actually discuss.
I will say
you
I
know?
had them. I had like 2 or 3, but we never got to them. But that's okay. That's okay.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that is yours for
That's
next time.
nice for next
so
time.
then
Yep. So,
come up with some stuff.
yeah, tune in for next week. We got episode 69 coming up. It's going to be a big one. I hope you guys are really excited for that one. It's going to be real nice. But wow, terrible joke. All right, I'm going to close this out.
I wasn't giving you the pleasure of laughing at that one.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, whatever you'd like to do. Thank you so much for listening. It's been a great time. Heading out to Spain in the next 2 weeks or so. So we're super pumped and can't wait to talk to you all about that as it gets closer and closer. So, yeah, keep tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out, everyone.
Nice. I like the energy you got going there.
Yeah. I feel like I forgot how to podcast with the 2 weeks.